Welcome to Threads of Gold. Today's guest is a four-time cancer survivor, a children's book author, a childhood cancer advocate, and a longtime fundraising participant with Blood Cancer United, American Cancer Society, and many other organizations. Thank you for joining us and welcome, Stayc Sharrow. Stayc, welcome to Threads of Gold. Thank you for being here with me today.
I am so excited, Dana Sue. I really, really appreciate the opportunity to be here. And Threads of Gold means so much to me because um, I see my life being held together by threads of gold. So
Yeah.
it really has a huge meaning for me in the name and then also in the visual of it. So thank you for being here
Oh,
and doing
yeah.
this.
Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, that if that the little image that we had created is obviously a broken dish, being held together by beautiful threads of gold. And that just, we had that done by an artist because we were like, that's the image that we have of all of our books and materials that we put out at Bellisaria and the stories we highlight from people who are even outside of our organization. Like we're all being held together by these threads of gold. And I hope to bring healing to lots of people. And I think your story is going to be inspirational. It's difficult to share, but I think it's an important one. But if you don't mind, like if we can go back to when it all began for you, and you were not a childhood cancer patient, but you were part of that AYA group that we talk about so often, and that unfortunately gets overlooked. So, can you talk about how old you were and how you found out about your initial cancer diagnosis?
Sure. I was 30, so I was in that early adult, even though I was missed. Um, and I got into a little bit of a fender bender. So I went to the ER to just get my neck and my chest checked. And the doctor came back with x-rays and she said, I'm sorry, in all of my years of emergency medicine, I know that I am never going to forget you as a patient. And she put the x-rays up um, to show them to me. And all you saw were these huge dark masses across my chest and then wrapped around my neck. And I looked at her and very calmly said, so I guess I'm staying for a while.
Mm, yeah.
And um, yeah. So then I was immediately, obviously, put into the hospital so that we could figure out what kind of cancer it was and, get more information. And it turned out that I had stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma and I had about 8 weeks to live.
Wow.
So if that fender bender had not happened, I would not be here today.
Yeah.
And it was really there for a very, very long time because one of the tumors was 10 centimeters, so like the size of my hand across my chest and wrapped around my heart. And then the other one went from the tip of my left shoulder, wrapped around my neck, and it actually pushed my trachea over so that only a third of my trachea was operational. So when they went into the biopsy, they couldn't even put me to sleep to do it. I had to be awake.
Ow. What, didn't you have any pain prior to that?
Nothing, totally non-symptomatic. I have asthma, so you hear my voice is a little raspy. That was the only thing that I had that was symptomatic. And I thought, oh, the shortness of breath is just my asthma. So let me hit my inhaler again.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. So it was stage B and my doctor was stunned. My oncologist was stunned. Like
Yeah.
the ER doctor every Friday called me to check on me. Like the entire time I went through treatments. And when I sat down when we got we had to wait till we got the bone marrow extraction results back to see, if it had spread even farther. And then all of back then we did gallium scans. They didn't have PET scans. So all the information came back and it was 2 weeks later. And he looked at me and he goes, So I really think we want to try this new protocol. Um, it's being fast tracked for FDA. We want to try it on you. And I went, okay. And the other option is, he goes, what we used before. And I'm like, well, what are the side effects? And he's like, well, there's, really good possibility of another cancer. He goes, but you've got 8 weeks to live. That was when I heard those words.
Hmm.
Um, and I guess the other thing that I should probably say is I was diagnosed with my cancer on September 11th, 1996.
Wow. Yeah, a long time ago, and we have seen a lot of improvement since
Yeah.
those days. And so you did the, was it a clinical trial at the time, or it had been a treatment that had just been approved by the FDA?
It literally had been just been approved. So I was one of the first three patients that um, took the treatment as the FDA approved. So
Wow. Yeah. So, going into this, I'm either going to die or I'm going to do this treatment. And this
yeah,
treatment has the potential to cause me all kinds of, side effects, late effects, long-term issues, but I'm going to die if I don't do something. So here's your choice. Choice A, die. Choice B, do something.
and I have to say, like, so I will interject. At no point did I ever say or think that I was going to die. So a lot of when this says they give you a social worker and a psychiatrist when you get diagnosed to help you through it, especially when you're end stage. And I went, nope, I have purpose. I have a need to be here. I am not done. I teach small children. I need to be able to explain to these children why my hair is going to fall out. I need to be able to explain to them why I'm going to be, vomiting and sick. And I need to be real. I went wigless. I I wanted to have them be empowered by what I was going through, and I wanted them to empower me. And my doctors thought I was in denial. And the blessing for me is that I'm autistic, so all I think about is finding an answer.
Hmm.
So it was all about the answer. It was not about, oh, do I think about final arrangements? Oh, do I do a trip around the world? Do I make a bucket list? None of those things ever went through my head, which is not common for most people that have just been given that kind of information.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you were just right. Let's do what I got to do. I'm going to
let's
live.
do it. We're
Mm.
done. We're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
And remarkably, that it was a much higher dose than it is now than than what we have as protocols now. But within 4 months, the tumors were gone
Wow.
from the chemo. And then I did 3 full months of full mantle radiation, meaning the whole top side of my body.
Mm. What was
Um,
that like?
uh, I think I will say that chemo was uncomfortable. And I had a beautiful group of people around me that um, my family was not. So my friends, we called them my barf patrol. And so we literally, I'd be like, bucket, and they'd run and get a bucket. And then it got to the point where um, I couldn't even hold it long enough for the bucket. I literally would go just stand in the shower because I was vomiting so hard that I was also urinating at the same time. So like it was just
Awful.
awful when on the weekends because I continued to work this entire time. I had just bought my first business 6 months before I got diagnosed. And so I was working 80-hour weeks and then working chemo and radiation around 80-hour work weeks.
Mm.
So
All right.
yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah, a lot. Now, you mentioned your friends, and I'm going to circle back to them in a minute when we talk about the children's book you're currently working on. But your friends got you through this. Can you chat
Yes,
just a little bit about your little circle of warriors?
my warriors are fantastic humans that my biological parents, when when I was diagnosed with my cancer, my mom came to the hospital. And when the doctor walked out after the diagnosis, she looked at me and she said, "How could you do this to me? What were you thinking?"
Yikes.
My father and I had not spoken for 5 years. My dad walked into my dad came in to see me, looked at me, and was, was good knowing you, and walked out.
Ouch. Oh my. So
So
you depended on your friends to be your family.
they were my rocks. So my best friend Scott, who I call my brother, was there cleaning the house every Friday before chemo, trying to make sure that he was always there, being my family, being the human that I needed to be able to get me through this. I had a roommate who, you know, we we had this core of five of us, and we had two apartments upstairs and downstairs from all of us. So every night, everybody would come upstairs and hang out with me in my giant king size waterbed, and we watched. I had this ginormous. One of my friends bought me this ginormous 150-gallon fish tank, and we would literally sit and watch these saltwater fish for hours.
Mm.
Or the other thing that we did, which was it was very heartwarming at the moment. Mario Lemieux, who is a very famous hockey player, had been diagnosed with Hodgkin's 6 months before I was. Um, we reached out to his people. His people sent me autographed merchandise, information. I mean, I live in Miami. His team was the Penguins in Pittsburgh, but the the Florida Panthers were playing fantastically that year. So I got to go to games. I got merchandise that was signed.
Nice.
Every time I vomited, they scored. So,
So
so
you
I
were their
never
good
got
luck charm.
I never got to see them score.
Oh,
And then my treatments ended when they actually went to the Stanley Cup, and I was no longer vomiting, and my friend and they lost. And my friends kept going, "Just go to the bathroom and pretend."
yeah, please vomit. Please vomit.
I mean, it was just totally bizarre and silly, but
No,
you
I
know,
get it. I'm a sports fan and hockey's my favorite. And like whenever you find like some kind of a superstitious something that works, like you got to keep doing that.
and I have written 5 books, but one of the books is actually about a mouse that lives at the Panthers arena, and his name is Pete, and he's number 3
Oh,
because I have not watched them the last 2 years. They've won the last 2 years, so we are hoping that the mouse Pete is our 3 Pete.
oh, that's cute. That's very cute. So
So
I'm a
and
Dallas
one of my
Stars fan, so
well, and I love Dallas too. So like I
yeah.
totally get it. It was wonderful when I lived in Dallas because all of the players' kids came to my gymnastics program.
Oh, cute.
So, so it has been when I grew up in Detroit, so Red Wings. I lived in Philly, so it was the Flyers. So it's been throughout my entire life. I lived in Colorado for the Avalanche, so um it followed me through, but this is Panthers are my home right now.
Yeah, that's so sweet. That's super cute. Yay, I love hockey so much. I always say it's the coolest sport. Yeah, but so I want to talk to you, go back to the topic of the children's books in a few minutes because you've written a few of them and you're currently writing one for Bellasteri, but
Yay!
we're gonna talk about that in just a few minutes. But I want to go back to your cancer journey a little bit because you did survive your initial cancer diagnosis with Hodgkin. I think this is something that you did your treatments in 1996. I wish I could say that we are no longer putting the red devil into patients, but that's not true. Unfortunately, the red devil it's a powerful chemotherapy agent and it kills cancer, and we love the fact that it kills cancer, but it causes heart damage, major heart damage, and that's because
It
of your
kills everything.
everything, not just cancer.
Correct. It kills everything. And that
Yeah.
is what most people do not understand. Um, I will give a funny anecdote as I was teaching one of my parent-child classes. Um, one of my moms looked at me and she goes, "You lost your eyebrows." And I went, "Well, yeah, yeah, you lose your hair, you lose your hair." She goes, "I thought when you had cancer, you just lost, your hair and your head." And I'm like, "Yeah, I was ready for that." So as my hair started to fall off, I shaved myself bald and I was fine for that. I was not ready for what happened the following chemo, where all of my arm hair fell off and all of my eyebrows fell out and my eyelashes fell out. And I was like, oh, they don't explain this to you when
Mhm.
you have that. So there's so much non-information. It's not misinformation.
Yeah.
It's just
You just
non-information.
don't know until it happens to you. And also, like, just to point this out, a lot of times, like when you're watching movies or television shows and they have a cancer patient, they only talk about the top of your head as if that's
Right.
the only spot on your body you have hair. And it's just crazy because you have hair top to bottom.
Yes, that was part of the discussion that followed up with the moms, and I went, yes, that had that too.
Everywhere. Not to be too graphic, but
I know, but
everywhere.
everywhere. And I was like, okay, there are a bunch of 13-month-olds in this class, so okay, whatever. But I had prepared myself to hear the words another cancer because that was what we knew at that particular point of time with the Red Devil and then with Doxy, was that they I had a 35% chance of getting another cancer.
Mhm.
So in 2008, breast cancer. Luckily, we caught it early detection, went in,
Because
lumpectomy,
the reason for the early detection is because you're continuing to see.
could see everything all the time. Yes. 2010, Scott, my best friend, um, had seen a spot on the middle of my back where one of my radiation dots was, and he goes, "Stay, it doesn't look right." That's my nickname. So I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "I don't know." He works at a children's hospital.
Mm,
So he took me to the dermatologist at the children's hospital because at that point I did not have insurance. And she's like, "Oh, let me take a look at it," and literally laid me down on the table and did not tell me and did a biopsy right away. And it turned out it was stage 3 basal cell
mm,
in the middle of my back, which I would not have ever seen if he had not seen me like changing and saw something on my back. Um, so then we did topical chemotherapy for a month and, cut out all the edges, and thank goodness it was basal cell. Um, I was ready for that. Those two were in my brain. It was a month later, so it is October of 2010. I am training for a marathon, the Disney Marathon, which I had been a guest speaker at the Disney Marathon, um, for Blood Cancer United,
hold on, what year was that? Because I coached Disney several times.
2000, 2006. So
Oh,
I was the guest.
I might have been there.
I
I
was
could be
well,
wrong.
and I used to be part of. I was the the team in training for cycling, for North Texas, and honored hero for 10 years. So my original idea was to do a sensory a century
Yeah,
100-mile ride,
yeah.
and it didn't happen. So I walked instead. So I did walking. But I spoke at Disney, and goodness, I forgot where I was going.
Your
Uh,
fourth diagnosis. Sorry, I interrupted that. So right,
it's okay.
yeah, 2010.
So 2010. So I'm training for for the marathon again, and all of a sudden I start coughing up blood every single night. I don't know why. I go to the ER. Doctor misdiagnoses me, says it's pneumonia. Go on steroids, antibiotics. 3 months later, I'm coughing up blood again. It keeps happening. So on the fourth time going to the ER, the there happened to be a cardiologist in the ER that night that looked at my medical, and he said, "Wait, you had the red devil?" And I went, "Yes." He says, "Who has checked your heart?" And I said, "Why would anybody check my heart?" He goes, "We need to do immediately an echocardiogram."
So hold on.
And
They had not told you. They told you about the potential for cancer.
cancer, there was
Yeah.
no mention about
So
heart disease.
nobody
Totally,
was following you, no, for
nope,
cardiotoxicity.
no,
Okay. Okay.
nothing. And I guess it was because it was early on that we just were not aware of the combination of what could happen.
Hmm.
And it turns out that at that point, the function of my heart was about 35%. So they consider it critical, where you cannot do anything at 30%.
Wow.
And
Very, very scary.
I, yeah, really, really scary. I mean, luckily I got the right diagnosis. I got put on medication, immediately started going back. I mean, because I teach gymnastics. I was not going to stop teaching gymnastics. I pulled back a little bit, but this is how I made money. This was my life. So, here I am, this crazy lady jumping around going, okay, I got this. Okay, I got this. And then eventually had enough cardio in me to start training again for another event for Blood Cancer United. This time I decided to do a try because I figured cycling would be less stress on my body than doing a marathon. Um, and got hit by a truck.
You've had a lot of great luck.
I am alive. So that is the blessing. Like, I mean, I look at it, there's the highs and the lows, but I'm blessed. Cancer changed my life in a way that makes me so aware of how short life is and how much you have to love the moments of the highs. Like 4 weeks ago, being in DC at CureFest with you, I cried for days when I got home. I cried knowing that our government is working to help us, to help children, to be able to move forward and actually fund research that can help only 25% of the population that only gets 8% of the money for cancer research.
Hmm.
And our government went, yes, let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I cried. I cried. I mean, I cannot imagine being a child going through what I have gone through. And I know that a 4-year-old that has had leukemia or lymphoma or any of the childhood cancers at 20 or 30 is going to be facing, unfortunately, the challenges that I am dealing with now.
Yeah.
And what kind of a life is that? It's not.
Scary. It's a scary
It's
one.
ter you people assume, oh, you say you're in remission, and everybody, yes, ringing the bell is great. Ironically, I've never rung the bell.
Mhm.
So so now I ring the bell at heart functions as well, because I do work with the American Heart Association. So I ring it for my cancer journey, and I ring it for my heart journey as well.
Yeah, good.
Um, and the accident, the bicycle accident, it made my heart function drop to 10%.
Gosh.
So I was on the transplant list for a new heart. Um, and then a young fourth year doctor said, I mean, he was still in college, still in fourth year school. At an ER visit, he said, they put in a pacemaker to keep my heart going and a defibrillator in case something went sideways. And he said, have you ever thought about stem cells? And I'm like, this isn't cancer, man. And like, I know all about stem cells. I am the woman about changing the world with stem cells. And he's like, they now have cardiac stem cells to regrow the damage to your heart. So it took 2 years for us to fight to get me into the program, because the program was based on men's size hearts.
Mm,
And it is the Stacey Sharrow exception with the National Institute of Health that allowed me to be the first woman to get my own stem cells to repair the damage to my
wow.
heart that saved my life, so that now my ejection fraction, the percentage of my heart that works, is up to 35%.
Wow.
But while they were in there putting the stem cells in, they also found a widowmaker.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ended up having to have a double bypass, because the radiation literally is like putting a piece of meat in a microwave,
Yeah,
and it destroys everything inside of your body when you get that that much radiation.
right.
And so, that's what I was dealing with. So it was a 12-hour double bypass. 4.5 hours was taking away the scar tissue from radiation.
Wow.
Um, but I am alive. We've now had 12 years now of following the study. We've been able to prove that this works and that it keeps people alive. Everybody that got the stem cells after me have all survived, and they just started children's trials. So, my blessing, my hope, my prayer, can I get a little emotional? Is that any of the children that are now facing what I faced will be able to have a cure, so they don't have to go through this. We want a cure for cancer so that they don't have to. But if they ever have to have issues with their heart, we now can give them hope.
Yes.
Sorry.
How do, no, please, gosh, what a journey. And I'm just curious, like, how can people donate specifically to that type of research?
Absolutely. So the three biggest um, cardiac university programs in the United States are Harvard, Stanford, and the University of Miami. They're the top three. They are ranked in the top 10 in the world. They are needing funds desperately. I am going to go back to Capitol Hill and fight to get funds released, because the funds have been released or have been frozen. Um, but we are one step away from FDA approval.
Wow.
So if we can get that final stage finished, this can save not just people that have had cancer. This can save millions of lives.
Hmm.
Like that's what we need to do. And I am super proud that I took my body and I said, if God has got this purpose, that I'm going to try these things. If I'm going to die in 8 weeks, okay, fine. But let's see what we can do to maybe change somebody else's life.
Yeah.
And then it happened again with the heart surgery and the stem cells. And I went, you know what? Let's do it. I don't care about what the complications are. Um, I got stem cells again. I had a heart attack in March of 2023. It was non-symptomatic heart attack. Um, and they gave me stem cells again then while I was in a cardiac lab. And so again, then I was like Wonder Woman. I was like, okay, let's go do this.
Yeah.
Whatever we need to do, let's just keep going. Um, and so that is why I am so passionate about all of this.
Yeah. So so currently kids are not eligible for the stem cell.
They are now.
They are now.
They
They are
they
now.
are now. Yeah. They started 4 months ago, 4 months ago.
Okay, so this is still very new, which is exciting because I know, your initial diagnosis in 1996. We've learned a lot since then about heart damage and the potential for it to even happen not just a couple of years later, but even decades. Like in the case of my husband, this year he had the Widowmaker, of course. He was dead for 12 minutes from damage done to his heart back in 2003 and 2004. And this just made us so angry about kids having to do Red Devil. Um, but then we learned while we were at CureFest this year, when we were talking to one of our other authors who Hannah Adams, we were talking to her about when she did Red Devil at MD Anderson at the age of 5. They put something, and I'll have to ask her for more specifics later, get her on the podcast to talk about this, but they put something in with her Red Devil to help to guard the heart. So
To guard the heart.
yeah,
Yeah.
so the more that's part of what research is. It's about finding new ways to make the therapies a little bit less dangerous, less toxic, or not kill you like this does. But this whole heart cancer connection is just way bigger than people realize. And in fact, a lot of people know that cancer is the number one disease killer of children, but the second leading disease killer of children is heart disease.
Exactly. And the number one killer of people in the world is heart disease.
Hmm.
So people think that breast cancer is the number one killer of women. It actually is not. It's heart disease,
Heart disease.
which can be caused by the treatments that you get from breast cancer. So we are absolutely seeing this overlap, which is part of the reason that I'm a spokesperson for the American Heart Association as well. I'm a spokesperson for Blood Cancer United. I'm a spokesperson for American Cancer Society. Like I have raised personally over $5 million in my efforts personally to be able to fund different programs locally in the areas that I have lived. One of the fundraisers that we did with Team in Training with Blood Cancer United with Team North Texas actually went to um, the development of one of the cancer treatments now that is not so damaging, and I can't remember the name of it. But it went to um, Southern Methodist
Yeah,
University,
yeah,
SMU. So and I was really proud of that because I lived in Dallas for 10 years, and the first Relay for Life that I code, we raised $500,000. The second year, we raised $1 million. The year after the year that I left, which was 5 years later, we were at $5 million. But that couldn't have happened if one person, and I say this is my catchphrase, a drop in the ocean eventually becomes a wave of change. Be the
hmm
drop.
yeah, be the drop. Absolutely. I'm always saying that, we're much stronger when we come together and lay aside all of those things that divide us. That's even when, moments ago when you were talking about federal funding for cancer research, and in particular, childhood cancer research only receiving 8%. I mean, one of the reasons it's 8% now instead of 4%, which is what it was for so long, is because we've come together, all of us, as a strong voice. And it doesn't matter whether you're Republican or Democrat, that
Yeah.
shouldn't matter. This is a nonpartisan issue. And, I'm going to say something I always say, and people are probably going to get sick of me saying it, but I'm going to keep on saying it till I'm dead. So there you have it. But, cancer does not discriminate. It does not care about your age, does not care about your gender or your ethnicity. It doesn't care whether you're a health nut or a couch potato. It doesn't care whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, what language you speak, where you come from. In fact, it doesn't even care if you're human because even our pets get cancer. So cancer truly doesn't discriminate. And because of that, I say when it comes to cancer, neither should we. We have got to come together in a spirit of unity to wipe out these diseases because we are stronger together. And evidence of that is what you did with your Relay for Life event and what you did with Team in Training at Blood Cancer United. And these are organizations that are outside of government funding. These are
Right,
organizations people can put their money where their mouth is and fund research through these organizations and a
right,
huge impact. Talk about a huge impact. I've personally witnessed since my brother was diagnosed in 1977. I have personally witnessed the graphs change and lives being saved because of funding for blood cancer from Blood Cancer
right.
United. I mean, it's real, it's legitimate. So if you're looking for valid ways to donate or get involved in a fundraising like you and I
Do
both know.
one of the
Go
event that,
cheap.
yeah, I wasn't well, I was a health nut, but I will say the very first time that I went to an information meeting to be one of the speakers, just like I'll be honest, when I was at CureFest, I felt really weird being an almost 60-year-old woman standing next to 5-year-olds telling my story.
Mhm.
But it was the same thing when I was doing informational meetings. They wanted me to be a speaker. And I remember one of the coaches for the running team came up to me. He wasn't a coach at that point, he was just getting information. And he said, I need to thank you for being a voice to share your story. He says, because it's great empathy to see a small child standing there going through treatments and to hear what the parents are going through. He said, but for me to see someone who's a peer and hearing your story and understanding the magnitude of what you have been through and how this is going to continue and what you continue to overcome is not going to stop. He goes, that is making me sign the line today. And he goes, and I am on. And he's now a coach for the program and still coaches for the program. So, and I cried just like I cried at CareFest, just like I cried at the caucus, because again, I went in a little apprehensive. I was like, I don't know if people are going to take sides on this. Is it going to be a Republican or a Democratic situation? To hear that it left committee 100% no nos gave me so much hope that our government wants to help us and that we can do this. And being seen, the research that shows we are this close to cures, and we just have to put that push in to get them.
Yeah, right.
Save lives, change lives, celebrate, remember, do all the things. But we have big power in being able to be part of events that help fund that as well.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you'll like this because you've done endurance sports before, but as a marathoner and an Ironman triathlete, I know the pain of getting closer to the finish line and how it's harder. It hurts more. It feels overwhelming and it feels like you'll never get there. But stay in the race. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Keep moving forward. Don't give up. Don't take a DNF. Keep going. And that's what I tell myself about childhood cancer because I've been trying to raise my voice and raise awareness about it for since I was 7 years old. I got to stay in this race. I can't give up. We have seen some progress with some childhood cancer types. With others, we are still just barely there. And we've got to keep on fighting, and in particular with these brain cancers that so
Absolutely.
yeah, and then others too. Like, I mean, rhabdomyosarcoma doesn't have very good outcome. Osteosarcoma is still taking children's lives. The truth is, leukemia is still taking children's lives. We have got to keep on moving forward and keep on raising awareness, raising funding. And just like you, that's been my focus as far as fundraising all these years, is pouring in my own financial aid to research. But I love, like, when we go to CureFest, there's so many different organizations represented there, and some of them are doing things, helping families financially. Some of them are doing things like care packages, or one of the organizations here that we like to support at Ballesteri is Leah's Kids, and that organization hosts mental health retreats for teenagers and kids in their early 20s that are going through cancer treatments. And it's just all of those things are necessary and needed. So although my focus has always been on research, I'm thankful too for organizations who put a focus on helping these families in other ways too. And I have every hope that someday we'll see the end of these diseases. But now kind of want to transition a bit and talk to
It,
you
it- can I
about,
say really, really quick? Because I
yeah,
want to add to that.
yeah.
So when I lived in Dallas, I I was the director for an organization called, it originally started being called Queen for a Day, and then it became the For a Day Foundation. So I twice a month went to the hospitals between Fort Worth and Dallas and did parties for the children that were going through cancer treatments. I'm a pageant girl. Most people go, pageants? And I go, in Texas is a different thing. So I was Mrs. America Worldwide, got all of my pageant USA Miss America girls together, and we went to the hospitals and did parties at the hospitals. So at Cook's, at Children's, all the other hospitals in Dallas. Um, and did makeovers for each one of the girls, gave them their own cosmetics, did their nails, and then each girl got crowned queen over their illness. So they got a crown they got to keep. Each boy became a hero. So firefighters and police officers came.
That's so cute.
And they all got to be heroes. So they all got medals and helmets and police officer outfits that I funded and paid for myself. Um, and one of the little girls had been in the hospital for 4 months. She had neoblastoma, and the news was there. CBS was there following it. And she was up and out of bed, and the doctor walked in and came up behind me, and he said, she has not left her bed since she came in here. So for 4 months, she has been in bed. I have never seen this child smile. I have never seen this child act like a child. And so um, she looked at her mom and she said, Mom, when I die, I want to be buried in this crown because I'm a queen.
Oh,
And she died 4 days later, and Mom buried her in her crown. But her mom messaged me. She goes, she don't understand what you meant to her. I got to see my child smile. I got to see her be happy. I got to see her be a kid. And so that's why this relationship between you and I and with Belisari is so important to me, because I want to come back and work with Leah's kids.
oh,
I
yeah.
want to come. I want to come to Dallas and Fort Worth and go back to Cooks. I want to go back to Gilda's Club. I want to go back to the places that I made a difference. I mean, we did a party at Gilda's for 100 kids that were going through treatments. Like, they need to be kids, and
Mm-hmm.
I want to help them get through this challenge.
Yeah.
And I would show them my scar and go like, see, I got a cool sport, port too.
Yeah.
And I would show them the pictures of me bald, because I wanted them to understand that I was their people as well.
Hmm.
And that is why this is so important to me. So I'm sorry I interrupted, but
Oh, that's great. And yeah, yeah, speaking of Leah's kids, that's what she does. The same type of thing where she crowns these kids.
I know. I'm like, I
Yes,
reached out to Leah. I'm like, please let me help you with this because the 4 Day Foundation is no longer active. And I was like, I got this, girl. I can help you do this.
that's awesome. Yeah, so that's why I mentioned that too, because although my personal focus has always been on funding research, I don't think that we should compete. What's more important, research
Right.
or these, goodwill, like feel
Wellness.
good. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's the whole child and it's their whole family. And that's one of the other things that I've loved seeing is in like at Cure Fest, such a strong emphasis on the siblings and just hello, it's affecting them too. They're not the ones who are sick, but man, it's so rough on them. And there are so many bereaved families at Cure Fest, and what can we do for them after?
afterwards. Right.
There's it's a whole world of pain and cancer is so evil and vile and I wish I could just rip it to pieces and be over it. But until we get there, we're going to stay in the race and keep on moving forward and I appeal to anyone listening in, please open your hearts, open your wallets and give in whatever way you can.
$5. Give up your
Yeah.
cappuccino for the day. Give up your Starbucks for the day for 1 day a week.
Yeah.
20 bucks makes a huge difference because with 20 bucks, I can buy 6 or 7 tiaras and get makeup donated so I can do these particular parties for kids.
Absolutely.
My best friend Scott works at a children's hospital, and last night I was talking to him, and I was telling him about this interview and talking to you, and I said I want to bring the books to the tower. I want to bring the activity books to the tower. I want to do an entire event where we are focusing on helping them while they are in hospital. And he's like, no problem. I will make the connections for you tomorrow.
Excellent. Yeah. And speaking of donations, one of my favorite, because I worked in development for a long time I've done so much fundraising, most of that geared toward Blood Cancer United and MD Anderson Cancer Center. But um, sometimes it feels, and I know you understand this, it feels overwhelming to try to raise money. You're constantly asking people to donate, please donate. And then they see you coming and they're like, oh, gotta run. She's gonna ask me for money.
Yeah, exactly.
But
And
like
it's true.
and you get excited like if you get a large donation, you get excited or I would have always had people say to me, "Well, I know, why don't you go and ask Elon Musk?" Like, really? I don't First of all, I don't know Elon Musk and also just putting it out there about all of the billionaires that you might think, they're hit up for money all the time. So like I don't know who they give to or whether they give or anything, but Danny Thomas, the founder of St. Jude Children's Research,
St. Jude.
he said, you know what, I would rather have 1 million people donate $1 than to have one person donate $1 million. And that's how I feel about it too. I want to get more people involved. So if all you're able to give is $5, what if I could get thousands of people to donate $5
$5.
or millions of people to donate $5? I mean, the goal is to spread it out and that's where the fundraising is concerned. But also there's the advocacy, going and being an ally,
Absolutely.
put on your gold, go and be an advocate. And even if you don't know a child with cancer, who cares? Be an ally. And if you're a voter, I appeal to you. Send
We
email.
voted already. We've got some stuff on the ballot here in the city of Miami, and that was important for me because we are losing funding here locally. And, we do have 3 different major cancer programs here that are going to lose money, and we need to have the money locally.
Mhm.
So I'm voting with my heart, and hopefully, I mean, my I did Relay for Life here. I was the chair for the first Relay for Life in the little city. Uh, it's part of Miami, but it's a little area part of Miami. And at the time, I was dating a billionaire. And I was like, okay, dude, I need to raise $100,000. So can you just write me a check? And he's like, no. And I went, you have $50,000 in your nightstand.
Yeah.
Just give me that money. And he's like, no. And I went, okay. I mean, he ended up giving us a $10,000 check, but it kind of devastated me that if there are people here that have lots of money, why are they not truly giving, especially to someone that affected someone you love? Why would you not openly go, here, take this, this is what you need? So that's why these stories are so important. That's why these podcasts are so important, is because we can reach people in a greater way, um, to be able to hopefully make a difference, and to be able to get smaller donations
Yeah.
because they add up,
Yeah. And I and
you know.
I do know that just from experience, I've had wealthy donors contribute. And I've had people who I was shocked because they hardly have any money. These are the ones that touch me the most.
To go, yeah,
That
yeah.
they don't have they have hardly any money, but they care and they open up their hearts and give what they can. And to me, that's so impressive to give from your heart like that. But it doesn't matter who you are or where you live. In whatever way you can help, I say help. But I don't want to let you go without chatting briefly about
Sorry.
some of the children's books you've written, and then I want to end by talking about the one that we're going to publish for you. So you've published some other children's books. You mentioned the one about the mouse. Can you talk a little bit about your children's books?
Sure. So the one that I think probably could step back to March. March, I was hospitalized again with a heart issue. Um, in November of last year, I did the podcast with Ashley and Michael, their podcast,
Michael and Mom got
and
cancer.
Michael and Mom got yeah. And 10 minutes later, I went into to code blue. I had an allergic reaction didn't to something I had eaten right before we had started, and coded. So it's been an interesting year. And then in March, I started having problems with my defibrillator and it wasn't working correctly. And so as I'm sitting here and the doctors are going, we don't know what to do. We got no idea. Like it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. And I went because I was writing an autobiography and it was going very badly. It was not going well. I had someone that was helping me ghostwrite. They were using AI. It was awful. And I went, hold on a second. What if I break these down into kids' books? Because if I were a child in the hospital right now, or a parent with my child in the hospital now, I would be absolutely terrified. Or how would I tell my child that I have cancer and explain it to them? So I started with the first book, which is Princess Stacy's Superpower, which talks about my autism, because I do believe my autism helps me get to another place so that I focus on, again, getting things fixed and not some of the other emotions that come with diagnosis.
Interesting.
Um, and then about my gymnastics program that I created. So it's the Kingdom of Imagination that I created for children that are on the spectrum, as well as for kids that are not on the spectrum. So that it really is that story of how gymnastics changed my life and in many cases has saved my life. So even with the cancer, even with being hit by the bicycle, doctors over and over and over and over said, your gymnastics body is what helps you fight through this. So that was important to be able to write that. Then the next one I wrote was the adult. version of my cancer story, which was about being a bee, because the gymnastics program I owned at that particular place was named after bees and my best friend Scott. So, um, and then the third one I wrote is called Horizone's Circus Heartbeat. And it talks about heart disease and how, again, how do you explain to a child why your parent or why you are having, your heart cut open, and what, so I talk about the big red pillow and how you hold the big red pillow, and about how, what those experiences are going to be in a way that are safe for children to be able to take in, with big beautiful pictures, and wanting them to be relatable. And the feedback that I've gotten from parents over and over and over again is, my child resounded with, the princess idea. They resounded with the, oh, Miss Stacy was a beauty queen. When did that, like she really was a queen? Oh, Miss Stacy did gymnastics. Oh, Miss Stacy had this happen to her. Oh, I didn't know that about Miss Stacy. So having those moments be really important, and then taking it back to my braveness, because I think I was super brave in telling children I had cancer, and that told them I took this awful black medicine that made my hair fall out, which is in the book that we're working on right now. And that was so important because I didn't want kids to be afraid to take medicine and have their hair fall out or be sick. So I wanted to put it in a way that children could process.
Right.
Um, but a year after I finished my treatments, a mom called me crying, and she said, I really want to thank you. And I'm like, okay, you're crying. What's going on? Like, please tell me what's happening. Both of her sons were in my program. She says, my husband got diagnosed with cancer yesterday, and we had to sit both of the boys down and tell them that daddy had cancer. And my oldest, who is now 6, he was 4 when I had him, goes, it's okay, Dad. You're gonna take this black yucky medicine, and it's gonna make your hair fall out, and you're gonna puke a lot, but you're gonna be just fine, like Miss Stacy.
Aw.
That has power.
Mhm.
So that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
Because I want to give that power. I want to give that hope. Again, speaking at the dinner, and I don't know if you had left already when I got up. I spoke at the very, very end, um, after the caucus in the evening. Um, Congressman McCall kind of nudged me and went, "Go talk," and I was like, "Not in front of the 8-year-olds. These kids are more eloquent than I am. I can't say anything better." And I started with hope. We have hope. We have to find the light. We have to find the goodness. We have to find the positivity. Your books do that. Your books give hope. They give energy. They give the stories so that kids can get through these hard times, so that parents can help digest this hard information, so they can help tell the stories of things to do. The activity books give the children's things to do when they're sitting going through chemo treatments in the hospital, endlessly going through this. This is why I'm here.
Hmm. Yeah, there's a purpose for you being here still. And also just speaking of the art of storytelling, which is what, our mission is here. We know that not all of these kids with cancer are going to make it. You've been to Cure Fest, you've seen the 1,800 pairs of empty shoes that represent the children who died this year. Around the world, more than 100,000 kids die of cancer every year. I think our books, and part of the reason for this is to keep the memories alive too. It's not just about the kids who have survived these diseases, although that's a huge deal too, but the ones who did not survive, they still matter to us, right? I mean, like we're going to do our best to keep their memories alive. Kids like JC, kids like Callie, kids like Aaliyah, and I could go on and on and on.
On and on and on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to show you this book because I this one is one of the ones I had this one at Cure Fest. I brought it last year. I gave one to Congressman McCall, and I take it with me to a lot of different events just because this book was written by Aaliyah Ramsey, who was diagnosed with osteosarcoma at the age of 13. And she would fight that disease 10 times and take her final breath at the age of 18. And she asked her mom to keep she had founded a nonprofit, Bearing Hope, before she died, and she her goal was for her family, her mom, keep that charity going, keep on raising awareness and funding and helping these kids. And so like I hope that our book, speaking of hope, I hope that those kinds of stories offer encouragement and hope to people to know that you can keep on sharing your child's story, keep their memory alive. I wish that no child died of cancer. I don't think any parent should bear that burden at all. I hate it. I hate it so much. But I do hope our books will help. And so speaking of hope though, let's talk for a moment about the book you're currently working on.
Yes.
We have a couple of artists who are working on the illustrations for it. It's about a little bee. So you based it a little bit on your life and your friendship with Scott, who helped you through your cancer diagnosis. You even mentioned the fish tank in this book, but you took it to a level where its focus is pediatric cancer. So
Right.
don't tell the story because we want people to buy the book.
I know. I don't want to tell the story. I mean, I try not to give out too much information.
Yeah, but what's so it's called Stacy B and the Power of Hope, and you do talk about the black medicine. We do, and but Stacy in the story is a bee. So
Yes.
so are you excited about this little children's book?
Okay, I am so unbelievably excited that I want to come to Dallas or to DFW and do the launch there, and I want to do it at Cook's.
Oh, yay. Yeah, so I we have a loving relationship with the people at Cook Children's. So a lot of people don't know this, but I mean, I didn't move to Fort Worth until 2018. I came from the Woodlands, Texas,
Right?
down near Houston. And thankfully, we lived there when my husband got cancer, so he could go to MD Anderson, and we didn't, and he could most of the time sleep in his own bed at night if he wasn't hospitalized. But when I was there, living there, I had a friend. I still have this friend. His name is Raymond, and he's the music producer at Cook Children's in their Child Life Zone, and he's amazing. So he moved to Fort Worth before I did, and so we reconnected when I moved here, and we've donated a bunch of our books to Cook Children's. We just love that hospital. It's so precious, and
I agree.
yeah. So I hope you can come to Fort Worth, and I hope you can come and visit with Leah. She's on the other side of me in the Dallas
I
area.
know in the Dallas area, but
Yeah.
I'm like I have friends in Fort Worth and I have friends in Dallas. So like either way, I'm going home to I came back to Miami because when I was living in DFW, I lived in Capel, so I was like right between the two.
Yeah, yeah.
But I came back because one of my friends was diagnosed with end stage pancreatic cancer, and she said, "Stay, I really need you here." She was, I need you. You're going to give me the positivity I need to survive. She had survived a 6 weeks diagnosis, um, and then ended up lasting another year. But I held her hand as she took her last breath. So that was when I literally picked up my whole life, sold my business, moved here, sight unseen, back to Miami, where I'm from, and um, and I miss Dallas. I miss my friends. I miss the happiness and I miss the work that I was doing there. Um, and so I feel like it is my family as well. And so for me to be able to hopefully be able to do a book launch there would mean so much to me. I can't even begin to tell you. And I don't know if that's possible, but that's what I want.
Anything is possible. Come on, it's a plane ride. So
And the doctors have said I can fly to DFW because that's the one thing too is I was not able to travel by plane until about 4 months ago. So the fact that I
Oh,
was at Cure, that's the reason I have not been actively at different events like Cure Fest for the last several years. So, yeah. So I go back to DC on Friday. I'm
yes,
going
just
back.
like you said. So, yes.
So
Okay, well, you know what? For anyone listening, we'll have more information soon about Stacy B and the power of hope and the coloring and activity book that will be its companion. So hopefully all of that will be out pretty soon. And I guess we may be shooting for a book launch in Dallas, Fort Worth area. So just stay tuned.
surprise! I didn't know if you knew that or not, but that
No, I did not. This is going to be fun. We'll start planning pretty soon for that for just so that we can make it big and make it fun. And one of the things I love about the fact that the characters are bees is that they kind of have that gold in
I
them.
have the gold color exactly.
That's,
That way, and that was the other thing that felt very important to me is purple is my color, but purple is for blood cancers. So, but it also is my personal color. But gold is for children's cancer. And so I felt that the bees tied very nicely into that story. So, thank you for seeing the vision the way I see it as well.
yeah, I'm super excited. Well, thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast, and we'll see each other pretty soon.
Yay. Thank you so much. Thanks for all you do. We really appreciate it. And thank you to all the viewers. Thank you so much. You can make a difference. Please do give us your Starbucks. We can use it.
Yeah, just one Starbucks a week. That's all you need to do.
Exactly. That's what you need to do.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again to Stayc Sharrow for taking some time to visit with me today and talk about her amazing journey with cancer and its many after effects. And thank you, Stacey, for all you do to open your mouth to raise your voice and raise awareness and funding for pediatric cancers. You can find out more about Stacey by visiting her website, jimagination.co, or you can go to bellasteri.com where you will find out information about her upcoming children's book called Stacy B and the Power of Hope. Thank you for joining us and have a great day.